Hi, everyone. I'm Chahat. I'm a member of NeuroTech at UIUC. And first of all, thank you all for being here today. We're excited to present to you guys the first talk in our talk series, NeuroBytes. And our first speaker is Jhillika, who is the founder of Mentra, which is a company focused on enabling neurodiverse individuals to land jobs in the market. Thank you so much, Jhillika, for taking out the time to share your valuable experiences with us. We are super excited to have you speak with us.
Hi everybody, I'm Ayush, also a member of NeuroTech at UIUC. We are super glad to have you here today. NeuroTech at UIUC is an organization focused on learning more about the brain and using that information and applying it to modern technology. A few logistics regarding today's talk. First, please try to keep your audio and video off while Jhillika is giving her presentation. And secondly, feel free to ask any questions you might have regarding her presentation, her story, mission, etc., and ask them in the chat. Once Jhillika's presentation is complete, we'll start our live Q&A session where she will provide answers to your questions. With that being said, Jhillika, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Okay, I would love to start this whole presentation with a quick video. So this video came out last week, so it's not on social media yet, so you guys are the first to see it. So I will go ahead and share my screen.
This is my brother. He was diagnosed with autism when he was 3 years old, and he's never spoken a word in his life.
At a very young age herself, Jhillika Kumar says she knew it was her responsibility to care for and empower her brother Vikram.
He's 7 years older than me, and we've always grown up as sort of best friends. And when I was young, I always wondered why people treated me differently than they did him. Like when I went to school and college, he never had the same opportunities that I did.
It was when Vikram learned to use this letterboard that Jhillika says her whole family was shocked. For 27 years, they thought Vikram had the brain capacity of a 5-year-old. He started typing. He knew words, poetry, and that was just the start.
He knew a lot about, math. He speaks several different languages that he's picked up over time just listening to people.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what really made me realize that there's so much untapped potential within him.
Jhillika was on a mission to make sure her brother and other neurodiverse young people get jobs. Jhillika, a team of her peers at Georgia Tech, and neurodiverse young adults created Mentra, a website or platform that connects those who are neurodiverse with employers.
Because our team is so diverse in terms of different skill sets, we had technologists, we had designers, we had marketing majors, we decided to come together at Georgia Tech to build a platform that would really bridge the two communities together, the employers and their neurodiverse individuals.
Just a year and a half in, Jhillika says Mentra is getting lots of attention and going global. Still, Jhillika says there is lots of work to do.
We are working to partner with vocational rehabilitation centers across the nation. So we hope that we can really be a pipeline for all neurodiverse individuals from across the country and then across the globe.
Vikram and Jhillika are still the best of friends, and she says he gives her advice on the direction of how Mentra will grow. If you have a neurodiverse family member or friend who can benefit from this platform, you can find them at www.mentra.me. There you can create a profile, meet with a Mentra team member, and hopefully partner with the right employer. For a world of difference, I'm Janet Sawyer.
Awesome. So just wanted to share that quick video with you. Let's see. Okay. So that was just to give you like an overview of what Mentra is today. And what I really wanted to focus more on this meeting, or this talk, is basically going way back from where we are today. Like, where did we begin? How did everything start? And how did we grow as a team from, I think it was 3 of us in the beginning at Georgia Tech. And then we expanded to today we're an international team of people working across the country, all asynchronously. And it's worked really well because we have people who are neurodiverse. Many have autism, some have cerebral palsy, ADHD. So we have a whole team that we've built and cultivated together who is neurodiverse. So just wanted to in today's talk go over how everything happened and give you guys the inside scoop. And I realized I haven't really done this in a really long time. Like I haven't, it's so normal to talk about all the progress we've made today and like where we are today, but just looking back on everything, just making this presentation for me was really exciting. So without further ado, I will share my screen, and I love showing visuals. Like that's my favorite mode of communication. So I thought I would present something for everything of a better journey. So one of the first things I wanted to start with is my favorite quote, or not my favorite quote, a quote that I had said about my brother. And so what it says is, one of the most important lessons my non-speaking autistic brother has taught me was how to be grateful for the voice that I have, because the power and the freedom to speak and to share thought with the world is a gift that must not be taken for granted. And so as you guys saw in the video, this is Vikram. He's 7 years older than I am, and he's autistic, and he's a non-speaking, or as people traditionally call it, nonverbal individual. And he's been this way since he was 3. And I grew up in Dubai. So, that's where my family lives right now. So I had some photos. If anyone's been to Dubai, that's the marina where I'm standing on the photo on the left. My whole family is Indian. So we're originally from Kerala in the South India region. And I love going back home every summer. And then, so this photo is just like a fun fact, is that I love picking my brother up, even though he's 27. And I also love to go hiking. So I just thought I'd share some quick fun facts about stuff, about me outside of work. And some of the favorite places I love to hike are the Appalachian Trail. It's one of my favorite activities to do in the whole wide world, is just to like climb mountains. And so my family's still there. So those are just some fun facts. So because I grew up in Dubai, I did, learn to speak many languages. So I'm sure many of you guys on the call as well understand, the feeling of being an expatriate in a new country, and trying to assimilate to all these different cultures and all these different people. And then of course, the whole idea of going to school in this city, while my brother didn't have the same opportunities, as I said earlier. So he stayed at home. He saw me bring friends over, but he didn't have any friends himself. Everyone sort of thought he was a little bit weird because he didn't talk, and people treated him like he was a child, because if you just look at his behavior, he's like very childlike. He's like very much watching TV and listening to music, and he's like doesn't speak. So you would assume that, oh, because he doesn't speak, he's not very intelligent. And if you asked him to, for example, turn off a light switch, he would be really shy and he would run away. And he needs someone to take care of him, brush his teeth, help him with clothes, all of this. So you would just assume that he's not that intelligent, which is why in the video, as you guys saw, this past year, 2019 was really a breakthrough for our whole family, because my brother learned how to type. And, after living with someone and growing up with someone who I was always talking to him, I didn't know he was listening. And now, because I'm very talkative, and, 27 years later, that everything I was saying not only is being internalized by your brother, it's actually being remembered. And there are, things that I might forget, but he still remembers to this day. So it's really been a transformational year, because I'm just learning about someone new and understanding him, and learning. It's kind of like rediscovering your own brother's personality, basically. After thinking him so well, you find out he's actually got some jokes up his sleeve, and he's got some traumatic experiences from his past that he's still trying to heal today. So it's like a very, it's a roller coaster of an experience after 27 years, which, fun fact, is the same amount of time that Nelson Mandela spent in jail. So, we almost compare it to that because it's like a different person now. He's not in where his body is his own jail, in many senses, which is something that he said. But anyway, so those are some fun facts. Another fun fact is, let's see, go to the next slide. Oops. Okay. So, it went pretty far. Okay. So, so this is actually, I thought I would share this photo because it's sort of how everything started. That's me in the middle. And these are, a group of people in India who have different types of disabilities. And this is basically an orphanage. So I visited it when I was really young and realized that, there's so many people, especially in India, there's not a lot of infrastructure, and a lot of these individuals, their families kind of abandoned them in this home. So it's really a huge, global issue, because this is a tiny village in Kerala, but imagine, the rest of the India, and then the rest of Asia, and then the rest of the world, like everyone has, a family member or a friend or someone who has a disability. So, and it does affect 1 in every 7 people. So, that's what really made me realize that my mission in life is to sort of serve my brother and also serve this larger community. Because when I think about these children, I think about my brother. My brother actually had all the opportunities, but he had a family, he had a support system, he had a loving sister, but so many people don't necessarily have those same privileges. So that's why, disability advocacy is something I'm very passionate about. And in India, it's like a completely different story. So first, hopefully what we do in the US, we can take back to other countries like India, maybe not do it the same way, but maybe inspire them to do something too. And another, just a quick quote I wanted to add in here is, when we started this, I think it just started with a dream. It just started with a vision that we wanted to make the world more inclusive for people with disabilities. And then I just started, writing my goals down, and I started sticking it up on my wall. And actually, I have a whole room with just, all of the goals I've written down. I call them manifestations, but really just writing out, what I wanted to see in the world, and for not for myself, but for the community. And that's how it started, with a dream and a pen and writing it down and sticking it on my wall, and then going to class every day and coming back and reading it and figuring out, okay, how can I make this a reality? So yeah, how did it start? So we were at Georgia Tech. I was studying design and computer science. It's a mixed degree called computational media. And it involved a lot of, learning how to code, which I was not good at. But today is very useful because our whole Mentra team has an entire development team that's focusing on code. So I feel like that expertise, or at least those classes, were not for nothing. I'm using them today. And then, of course, the design piece has been so critical, because everything we did, from designing our website to now designing our entire web application. And I know we have some designers on this call. That whole process has just been really incredible. And I think we pride ourselves on human-centered design in our application, which I will show you later in this call, what we've designed and what a demo of what our application looks like. So yeah, we started at Georgia Tech. We presented at a whole bunch of different different events that were happening on campus. And what I did want to share with you is, basically, while I was studying there, I was doing research. So this was a short video that I created over there, and I would love to share, because it's actually more about the research aspect of, before we built Mentra, we were just focusing on, how are we going to help the non-speaking community in particular. So would love to share this video with you guys.
The kind of work that's happening in Georgia Tech and the Atlanta area is incredible. We're making huge leaps in technology and innovation, especially in the accessibility and assistive technologies realm. At Georgia Tech, I started to work on research at the School of Interactive Computing to pursue my passion to use technology to assist individuals with autism. I've spoken publicly about this at events like FutureX Live in Atlanta and TEDx Georgia Tech.
Came back home.
My advisor, Professor Gregory Aboud, introduced me to what he used to teach his non-speaking son how to communicate purposeful motor skills, to point to letters, to spell instead of speak. Our first project at Accessibility is inspired by Reese. He is a 24-year-old autistic with an incredible story to share. After 19 years with no form of communication, spelling to communicate finally gave him a voice. With his mother's help, we asked him to type what he'd want to share with the world.
Let's see. Come on. Where are you going? Come on. Find your father.
Accessibility, we want to get people like Reese the technologies that can help them break through barriers placed on them by their own physical bodies. We are on a mission to find cutting-edge assistive technologies and connect that research with the families who need it the most. To spread awareness, we are creating a system.
All right, so that was a quick video, and I did want to share. So this is what our website used to look like when we started, and I think it's just amazing to see how it evolved over time. So as you can tell, our company was previously called Accessibility, play on words, because we were focusing on accessibility of technology. And yeah, we were, we had this bar here that said we were only 20% with building our company. Just to make it clear, we were not close to, the final product, but we were getting there. And as you can see, this is I'm just going to scroll through it.
Creating an online ecosystem to centralize and provide access to the latest assistive technology innovations with a network of human support resources across the globe.
Yeah, so that is where, we were back then, and we started off as a team of 2-3 people. Myself, Connor, Rishma, who is our lead designer now, and we, focused on this research on the non-speaking community. And we basically had many different ideas. We were at different phases in different months. We were like, okay, how do we serve the disabilities community? And that was a very broad question, and it was a very broad user base of people we wanted to influence and change the lives of. And obviously it was very big, so it's very hard to sort of understand and break down, because it breaks down into, you have cognitive disabilities, you have physical disabilities, you have people who are blind, you have people who are deaf, you have people who have, who have mobility issues where they're on a wheelchair. So how do you help, all of these individuals? And we realized first, after, a lot of talking to people and reaching out to professors and, going to different talks by people, taking an Uber and going to an event in Atlanta that was focused on disability advocacy, doing all of these things, we realized that it's a huge community and we needed to focus. So what we did was we met someone at a panel. His name is Aaron Niederhofer. He's actually the president of the Autism Self-Advocacy Network in Atlanta. And we started to go to a lot of his social events. We started to, meet a lot of people in Atlanta who actually were neurodiverse themselves. And that's when we realized we were actually talking to the community. So we weren't just trying to build a solution we thought would be good for them. We were actually, understanding them, asking them questions about, their lives and what they found most challenging. We were, really going deeper to understand them. And so that really allowed us to have an intimate knowledge and almost like a subject matter expertise, because we could really identify what are the different pain points and what are the barriers that prevent people from finding employment opportunities. Well, it started with, what are the issues that, people have who are neurodiverse. And we started to realize this common answer that we kept getting, which is that people who are neurodiverse are oftentimes it's very common for the individual to either be unemployed, so they don't have a job, or underemployed, which is they're not fulfilled in the job that they're doing. They're very much drained by it. It's not something that's even remotely in their area of skill sets. So, for example, we met someone who's really, really amazing at, at cooking, at being a chef. And they were they wanted to work at Publix to be in the department of making cakes, the bakery, but instead they were a cashier. And they weren't even able to communicate very easily, so it was very difficult for them to find that dream job. And that's only one person. There's so many millions of others. In fact, 83% of the population of individuals who are neurodiverse are actually in that underemployed or unemployed category. So it's really huge. And we realized, okay, so this is the space we want to go into. It's neurodiversity and employment. And then we wanted to bring technology in order to sort of bridge that gap that exists in the world. So that's when we really started with the idea of building Mentra, and how, Mentra, it was accessibility. And I will say, in the process, we did have so many rejections. I think we got denied from almost like 3 different business incubators. It was, it was a huge learning experience, because anytime, and now I just reflected on it today that it's a failure, but in reality, I think it started as, us just wanting to do something and someone not seeing the same vision. And that just was, reflected back on me. What can I do as, the founder of this organization to make it more clear what our vision is and what our purpose is and how we're going to build this and have a business model and earn revenue, and then, bring users on board and have a go-to market strategy and all of these different like startup buzzwords. It just became more natural as time went on. And I think the one thing I really just want to stress about this, like for anyone who's on this call, because I know many of you are in college right now, it's so important not to think that you need to be a subject matter expert or like a, very, very proficient person in a field in order to just enter it and just try it out. Because I was never, I didn't have any business experience or any business background. And I think I've learned so much from just like the process of it, and the different people you meet tell you new information, and you sort of just absorb it as you experience it. And I think the biggest myth we have in society right now is you need to be very, very well skilled and knowledgeable about something before you even try to make it a profession or take it up in a more make like with the example of being starting a company, or even starting an organization, starting a nonprofit, or whether it's a club, anything really that you want to do. Don't let them say no. But anyway, I wanted to go back to the slides and talk more about, so what happened after that. The biggest really turning point in everything was the TED Talk that was delivered, because that's actually where I met Connor, who's now Mentra's co-founder. But so back to the TED Talk, presented about, the mission of our organization. And there was like a call to action to say, I'm starting this company. I have a website and I would love for you to join if you're passionate about the cause. And Connor was actually working on the TEDx team at Georgia Tech. And he said, well, I'm really into sustainability, but I think, you have a really phenomenal cause, and I would love to apply he was an industrial engineer by trade. So he knew that, he had more of like the operations side. He really understood the business piece. He was able to work with the numbers and the metrics. So, and that was something I was not as proficient at. I was more strong with like the creative side of it, and, the marketing, the building the brand, having this like speaking at events, getting the recognition for Mentra. So we were really able to divide and conquer, and of course, outreach. So yeah, we were really able to divide and conquer while we were at Tech. And that's where we started to grow. So, there were speaking events that happened. So this is Rishma, where I met our lead designer now. She was one of the speakers as well. And I sort of just went to her and asked her one day, like, hey, do you want to join this organization we're trying to start? And ever since, she joined, and she's still on our team. She's the oldest member. So it's really exciting. 2 years old, which is crazy that we started 2 years ago. Yeah, and so just how this sort of happened in college was, we would we worked with a team on campus. We partnered with a club called Bits of Good, and they were a team of developers that worked with us because we didn't have that, big dev team at the time. And so we were able to learn a lot about what it takes to build a product and what it takes to really manage a team of people, especially if we're working at, if everyone has different working styles. And then this is a photo on the top left of, actually, there was, a day where people were presenting different organizations they had on campus. So we decided, we didn't have a table, we didn't have a booth or anything, but we decided this would be our opportunity to get more people to join the team. And so what we did was we just printed flyers and we just gave it out to people, and we explained our mission and we asked them to join us. And, it's ever since that, it's just been amazing because it's sort of organically grown, and now people find us online and they ask to volunteer with our team. And it's so exciting because at that time, we didn't really have a lot of people on campus who were very passionate about what we were doing or disability advocacy, or at least we hadn't met them. But as you move to this online platform, it's crazy because then the whole world just opens up. And so many of the members who are on our team are from across the country. So it's really exciting, the power of technology. So that actually brings us to the next phase of, how everything evolved. It was probably the biggest achievement that I would say we accomplished, that was
The kind of work that's happening in Georgia
apologies, this is the wrong video.
Tech and the Atlanta area is.
Yeah, I'll find the right one in a second. But basically, so yeah, this is more photos of our team. We did have this was Sebastian, he was our previous tech founder, or I guess tech lead. But he did eventually, he's at Carnegie Mellon. And so he joined for a while. We had his, back-end engineering expertise. And it was actually incredible because he was able to sort of build the foundation for our platform and build the building blocks, was starting from 0 to 1, just going for that step. That was amazing. And he himself was neurodiverse. So it was really amazing to work with him as well. And then he did actually decide to leave the team. So, at first, Connor and I were like, what are we going to do? Sebastian just left our team. Do we really have that technology expertise? How are we going to bridge this gap? And we were panicking for a second. And then, we had an amazing person who was at the time the front end developer. We decided that, maybe he should take the leadership role. And now, Shay Belsky, who's our lead engineer, is really driven the effort, and he's built an amazing platform. And we've been working on, Jira and Slack, and we've been really working asynchronously with our dev team to build out the actual Mentra platform, which I'll show you soon. So yeah, and so I guess what I was going to get to with the video, which is in here, I'll find it soon, but what I was going to get to was that we actually we had the opportunity to present at Grace Hopper, and there it is. So let's see if you can see this.
Your student at Georgia Tech. She's a she is a UI UX designer and aspiring entrepreneur. And she has a goal of improving the lives of the differently abled. Her work is all about raising awareness on the capacity to tap into this entire community of potential through improved accessibility. So let's roll the videotape and get inspired.
All right, I will not play the full video for you, but I did want to play the beginning of this speech for you because I feel like it stresses an important point about really the community that we're working with and the interview process that exists today that is highly inaccessible to this community.
Welcome for the Student of Vision Abby Award winner, Jhillika Kumar.
Imagine you're at a job interview and you're asked the classic question, so tell me about yourself. And you hear this awful sound.
This is really irritating.
A noise like that makes it difficult to think, let alone answer the question, while you experienced auditory overload? How could you expect to pass an entire interview process if you are overwhelmed by your senses and you feel as though you are trapped inside this body that is your own cage? Today, 1 in every 59 Americans are diagnosed with autism. In my brother's case, for the entire 27 years of his life, autism shut him out and silenced him from a world that was seemingly not designed for people like him because he's different. Not many people take an effort to see the world through the eyes of someone with autism. And we as a society are unable to comprehend just what these individuals are capable of. In the next 5 years, this country will have over 500,000 autistic young adults that will age out of government support programs. At the current rate, 82% of those individuals will be unemployed, left with a bleak and parent-dependent future. We talk so much about inclusivity, yet this is a systemic issue that often goes unnoticed. Now, instead of viewing this population as a burden, what if we could create opportunities to activate their talents? What if we could value their abilities rather than look down on them for their disabilities? What if their memory could be applied to data science? What if their compassion could be applied to solving humanitarian crises, the same way that Temple Grandin applied her empathy to revolutionizing the way that livestock is treated? What if these individuals could be productive members of our society and fill empty jobs, but also help companies to grow? It's a latent superpower that inclusive firms are just beginning to tap into. Our startup, founded at Georgia Tech, is focused on creating a neurodiverse hiring platform called Mentra at mentra.me, the mantra to an inclusive world. If you want to join our mission to get 100,000 autistic candidates into the workforce by 2025, let's connect and let's change the conversation around autism. Thank you, Anita B. and Quizlet, for this award that provides me a platform to be a voice for the voiceless, like my brother. Together, we can turn disability into a world filled with infinite possibility.
All right, so yeah, that was at the Grace Hopper celebration in 2019 in October, and that was really just a phenomenal experience. My family was able to attend. My brother was in the audience in the third row, so it was really the most incredible feeling to be on stage and talk about that. And you know, some really interesting things that happened at that event was backstage there was actually the Chief Technology Operations Officer during the Obama administration for the United States. So it was crazy to have a conversation with her because she was just like spewing this poetry about artificial intelligence, and I was just amazed by it. And there were so many, you know, women who are so powerful and so influential in the technological industry, and so many of them are so young. And they were all, you know, they were so kind and so respectful. So it was really a breakthrough for, especially for Mentra, because we were able to actually voice our mission. And there were 25,000 people in the audience that day. So it was really a huge crowd of people, many who were women, female technologists, many of them who were, you know, leaders in the hiring field, in the hiring space. So it was really a call to action, especially for them to say, hey, you need to be more inclusive. Your interview process, your recruiting process, your hiring process needs to be more inclusive, and you need to think about, you know, the community of people who are neurodiverse. So yeah, I just wanted to bring up that fun story. And yeah, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. And so, you know, when after the speech was delivered, and you know, we talked about Mentra, that towards the audience, we had, you know, a whole group of people who joined the team, and we were sort of able to expand. And we were able to, yeah, we were able to grow the team significantly right after. So back to the deck. let's see. So yeah, and the next sort of phase of this talk is really diving into what Mentra is. So, you know, we've talked a lot about it, but I think I really wanted to tell you guys, you know, you understand how it started and how it was built, but really understanding like what is the larger societal problem and how did we go about solving it. So let's see. Yeah. So first of all, so if you think about an interview process, you know, there's all these different stages that we go through. You know, first you're looking for a job, you're going on Google, you're typing it in, and I'm sure all of you right now are either like looking for internships or full-time jobs. And, you know, they don't really tell you this when you're growing up, but that's like one of the most important skills that you could cultivate is trying to figure out and interview for a job and, you know, have the social skills. I would say it could be a degree of its own, like how to pass an interview process successfully. And so there's all these different, it's like an enigma. I would say it's like, you know, you have to go online, you have to search, you have to figure out what jobs are you good at, what jobs do you fit the qualifications for, and then you have to apply. So when you apply, you have to answer in all these questions, and it's completely different for different employers. And, you know, the UI is different of the websites. And then when you interview with them, you know, there's this common question that gets asked, which is, so tell me about yourself. And one response we've gotten very frequently is that, you know, in an interview process, people get anxiety because, and that's not, I mean, that is the neurodiverse community, but that's really everyone, right? When you're in an interview, it's very difficult to, they say, be yourself. It's like, it is difficult to do that when you're under such a high stress situation. And, you know, when we were talking to people, especially neurodiverse individuals in Atlanta, we were learning that people had applied to like 500, 600 jobs, and they just kept getting, either they just never got responded to, like it went into this, what I call the resume black hole, or, you know, they interviewed with them and they just didn't get the interview because there's that one phase of, you know, being able to have, you know, give eye contact, answer questions well, you know, be charismatic, and all of these different things. It's quite difficult for someone who, you know, has, as I said in the speech, you know, has difficulty with sensory overload and anxiety and all these different things. And then, of course, when you get the job, it's so complicated because, especially if you're working in a corporate, you know, there's all these political situations and, you know, just understanding it. So from that standpoint, we realized these are the problems. And so here's what we built. And I'm actually, for members of you guys who are in the audience who are like more on the technical side or like wanting to understand, you know, the design and the development process we went through, I will tap on that too, just like an overview. So basically, as an individual, you can log on to Mentra. You go through one intuitive process. It's like very gamified, and I'll show this to you very soon. And then we generate a Mentra profile. So it's basically, the idea is, so the resume, the whole concept of a resume was invented in the 1400s by Leonardo da Vinci. And it was an essay, and it started then, and it's, you know, it hasn't really evolved over time. And so the idea is, I think now that we're pushing towards a more inclusive society, we have to think about other forms of expressing ourselves to companies and to employers. And resumes with just, you know, all the previous work experience you've had doesn't really tell people much about who you are and what you care about and what you advocate for, and what you're passionate about, and what environments you work best. And so that's why we're sort of disrupting the whole idea of a resume. That's a big part of what Mentra is doing. And then we want to have, you know, mentorship quizzes. Basically, we want Mentra to be like this digital ecosystem, basically like LinkedIn, if you think about it, but very focused on, you know, helping people get connected to the right employers, getting that one-on-one support. And then from an employer side, basically an employer would come on to our platform. They would take the training to understand, you know, how do you hire someone who's, how do you hire inclusively? What does that process look like? And then what are the job requirements? And not just, you know, the job description, because that really doesn't tell you much about the job. Like it says, you know, what's required and what's nice, but it doesn't tell you what kind of environment you're going to be working in once you get there. What's the team going to be like? What's your manager going to be like? So that's what that piece of the puzzle that we ask employers about. And then what we're doing is we're actually building a matching algorithm that is filtering capable and qualified talent. And the goal with the matching algorithm is for it not to be biased, because today what is done is, employers will say, okay, I need someone who has these skills. And then the search engine will go through and parse through hundreds and thousands and millions of resumes, and it'll find all the people that had those skills listed. And so it's just not an effective way of scanning people, because you're not really looking at those people who might not have the skills, but who might be extremely, extremely qualified or talented or capable of the job. So we're trying to eliminate that bias by filtering in, considering all these unique factors and collecting unique data about, what their strengths are, what their values are in a company, all of these different components and characteristics of a human being. And then we're bridging the two together. So that's what the Mentra platform aims to do. So it's bridging the employer together with the candidate. And the idea is we are a centralized talent pool from across the country. And so we're addressing all of these previous barriers we talked about, because we're bringing it all to one centralized place. So this is our ASA team that we started to work with. And what we did was, this basically, there's something called a vocational rehabilitation center, which exists across states in the United States. So let's say someone is autistic and they're able to find employment, they'll go to a VR, they'll get a job coach, they'll get the training, they will have someone work with them on building a resume, and it's highly, highly bureaucratic, the whole process. So it's an outdated system. It is not actually helping people, because we've heard horror stories about what's happened where, people get matched to the wrong jobs, people aren't satisfied with the work, and some people don't even get responded to because they just have so many people going to them. So, and all of their processes are very manual. So we realized, this is obviously a huge gap in the system. It's a huge pain point. And if we can use technology to streamline that process, then maybe we can disrupt the existing system that exists and the existing VR system. So what we did was we went through hundreds of these, profiles that we worked with a VR in Atlanta that's more innovative. They're named Eden Academy. So we worked with them to get their their resumes here, or their one-pagers. And what's unique about these are it talks about what works best for me and what doesn't work for me at all. So I get frustrated or tired because if I take a short break outside and go get a drink, they say I get less frustrated if I take a break or get a drink. So it just tells the manager, okay, maybe this is how I should, treat someone differently. Or what doesn't work. Okay, the person cannot stand for long periods of time. That's important to know if you're working at it, for example, at, a store as someone who's client facing, maybe you need to, sit down. So really it puts all that information in front of the employer. And what we did is we went through several of these one-pagers, and we extracted these 4 overarching categories, or these umbrellas that really define what is the information we're collecting. And what happened was we went into strengths. Our real differences in our strengths and personality and our environmental preferences. So that's what's unique from LinkedIn, and that's what really stands out about what we've built. And it's not at all the same as, LinkedIn just looks at personal information and career background. So we're going well beyond that. And we believe this data here that we're collecting makes our platform highly, highly inclusive. And we also tested everything. So everything we've built, we've actually tested it with neurodiverse self-advocates to get their feedback, their opinions, and we iterate constantly. So we have the luxury of being able to iterate because we're so small and we're so versatile. And so, some of the questions we ask, for example, just to look at what our product looks like today, we ask about all these questions. We made it very visual, very easy to understand and digest. When we ask questions like, when you're working on situations, can you work on many tasks at once? Can you work on tight deadlines? Can you work without help? Can you accept feedback? So that's really just good for us to know and match with employers. And then it's environments, like some examples that we talked about, what can people not work with at all? Like if there's loud noises, if there's bright or blinking lights, if there's food or if there's strong odors, that can really, really cause someone to perform very poorly at their job. So that's really what we identified there. And then, what environment's going to be successful in? Do they like working remote? Do they like working indoors with cubicles or outside with separation or outdoors? So yeah, we go into a lot of detail there. And yeah, as we said earlier, it's accessible and human-centric at every point of the way. So we've made sure to keep that core to our process. And so today, this is, what it looks like. You would go in, create an account, and then it would generate a profile. So what you're looking at right now, there's the old version of the website. If you go on Mentra.me right now, it looks completely different. And, this process is different, and our profiles are completely different as well. So we've, every time I present this, it's changed, which is really, it's exciting because we're just evolving and growing so fast. And, we're excited to put a product out into the market that's going to really be beneficial to people. So in terms of how an employer sees this, so they would basically go onto the platform and they would be able to see, okay, this person is a 98% match for the job. This person is 93%. They could click in and then they could really understand what about the person makes them unique for the job. So yeah, and so let's see if this works. No. Yeah, this is our website that exists right now, Mentra.me. If you go on there, and yeah, so that is the development process in terms of where we are right now in the journey. So what's happened so far? We graduated from Georgia Tech. I moved to Charlotte. I got it up. So our team, the way we work is it's like a side hustle. So everyone has a main hustle, which is, a different job. Many members of our team are in university doing their master's or their undergrad. And then we work in the evening, so 5 p.m. onwards. And, it's because everyone on our team is actually a volunteer. And we've tried to keep it that way just because we want to make it sort of a grassroots movement. So we wanted to make sure we were really being true to our vision of this. And we knew that if we were starting to get, investment and venture capital funding, you would sort of be at the mercy of someone else. And, what they would sort of define the vision and we'd have to work towards their goal of it. And because we all, this is a side hustle, we decided that we would take our time and really, build it out. Slow and steady wins the race. And really, do our research and try to understand everything as much as possible. So with that, we graduated, I moved to Charlotte, and we have our team, many members are here and all working remote. And so, yeah, that's really how we evolved and where we are today. So right now we're actually working with Goldman Sachs, which is crazy. We're in a pilot with them, and we've been working on getting autistic individual or neurodiverse individuals hired at Goldman Sachs for roles like, computer science and software, data science, but also, design and operations and business analytics. So we're trying to make sure that we don't just hire people into tech roles, because I think that's something that's come up very frequently in our research is technology companies have a lot of money today, and they, have the capacity and capability to hire people into these tech roles. And of course, it's a very high in demand skill, but that's like people who are neurodiverse, it is a spectrum. So you have so many people who are good at things outside of computer science, as is, the rest of the human population. So we're trying to make sure that we're hiring people into roles that are not just tech related. So that's really core to what we're doing. I think there's a lot of other organizations like us that exist, but they're more focused on the tech industry. And that's something we're doing as well, but we really want to expand to be all inclusive without, marginalizing certain populations or sort of segmenting certain types of roles. So yeah, with that said, I would love to show you guys what it looks like right now to basically build a account with us as a user. So this is basically the product we've built out so far. And let me just pull it up. Let's share my screen. Alrighty. Okay, so right now, this is what exists. It is a, we're excited that you're signing up with Mentra, and we tell them, you know, after you're done, after you sign up, we'll build this profile for you. And so, you know, you go through the process, you go through all the different questions. We talked about these: strengths and personality, your environmental preferences, your career background. And basically, you get a video resume after you finish that's built for you. So you meet with the team and we film this part of the video resume. And we really try to understand. We meet with almost every single person that applies for 30 minutes. We have a whole operations team that meets with every single person. And it's really amazing because we get to learn about their stories, we get to understand their personalities. I can just show you a quick.
Hi, my name is Tommaso Davi. I am a built environment innovation professional.
So yeah, that's one person who signed up. And so what we're really doing different about this, so this is the page that's essentially like the disruptor of the resume. So we've made sure to, you know, talk about his unique value. He says he likes, you know, to contextualize complex situations and market trends. And then, you know, I had a great fortune to meet across my journey from architectural school. So this is just his like story, where he comes from, how did he get passionate about the field, and then, you know, what's his ideal workplace. And then, of course, all the preferences, like what times he works best, everything goes in here. And then we talk about skills, what skills he's good at. And then you can actually click into his, you know, check out my work. You can click into his different projects that he's done and we learn more about his work. So it's directly linked to your portfolio. And then you can attach work experience. So all of the traditional, you know, content that goes on there. So that is just built for the individual who's neurodiverse. And we're collecting, you know, all kinds of data about them. So all this information you see is like all the information we're collecting from every person. So at the end of the day, you know, we're building this really, really comprehensive database that really understands people in depth. And that's not something that's built before, where, you know, there's no sort of centralized existence of a, you know, talent pool or data from individuals who are neurodiverse. It's very new. So yeah, that is the, I think that's the final part of my presentation. I think we talked about everything. Wow. Before I end, I would love to tell you guys a quote. So, you know, how this all started, I think it's like, it's been a very interesting journey, but I would love to say that, you know, Justine Musk, who is Elon Musk's ex-wife, she wrote this really, really interesting quote about, you know, how she, oh, I can't find it right now, but I will find it and I'll read it to you in a second. But I would love to open the floor back to Shahat, Ayush, and the team. And if there's any questions, absolutely happy to answer anything. I would love to meet you guys and hear your voices.
Thank you so much, Jhillika. That was actually really inspiring and very insightful too. So I think the next 10 minutes, we can open the floor to questions if anyone might have any. You could just unmute yourselves and ask.
Yeah, I see Megan says up here, it's an awesome idea. I think you were, I'm not sure if you were referring to the video resume thing we talked about earlier. But yeah, feel free guys to ask anything about anything.
Hi, my name is Mega. I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time and speaking to us today. I really enjoyed hearing about it, and it's not something I've heard about very much at all. So yeah, I really did enjoy it. I was just wondering, I think I'm just curious, like how your company and how you work around bringing companies into the space that are not as conducive or open to like expanding neurodiversity within their workplaces, and how you like kind of work around that within your company.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So right now, we're very focused on, and thank you so much for everything you said before that too. I was going to say that right now we're focused on companies that are, you know, mostly hiring people who are neurodiverse. So if you guys work roundtable in like these companies that bring everyone together. So we've actually just targeted, working with those companies because they're the ones that are, they're pushing for it from a leadership level. So for example, one of them is, Bank of America, for example. They've hired 300 people. And that's also where my day job is. So from the inside, I know that, there's a lot of senior leadership that's pushing for the hiring and, starting pilots and building out these programs. So if we start there, where our goal is that eventually, once we, work with those employers, there's going to be more employers that are going to, see what they're doing and they're going to follow in their footsteps. So we're not as focused on, changing the minds of people who already are closed-minded to it. But at the same time, I think if you're, trying to show the business value of hiring people who are neurodiverse, it's there's so many different approaches you could take. You could take the approach of, the numbers and say, like, look at the Accenture study that came out. You can tell that, workforces are 25% more productive if you have people who are have a disability in your workforce, not only because you're working with people who are really dedicated and compassionate and committed to the job, but you're also working in an environment that's inclusive. So, workforces are more productive. You could look at it from the standpoint of, the empathy side, convincing people that this is like an important and noble cause because, there's so many people out there. And the biggest thing, I think the biggest way that you could convince someone, and most importantly, I would say, is really telling them about, there are so many people who have this untapped potential. And the United States, there are more people today that are looking for jobs than there are, there are more jobs that exist in the world today than there are people who are looking for jobs. So, obviously there's this huge gap in, where you have people, how many people you have working, and then how many people ideally the country needs to have working. And like that gap in between, it needs more people who are really good at what they do. And so, that is really the opportunity that we have to bring people who are different thinkers. And I think when you say different thinkers, you're also thinking about like innovation. Bill Gates, to mankind, Nikola Tesla, they've brought all of these innovations to mankind because of their different thinking. So I think organizations will eventually follow this trend, knowing that this is, the cusp of innovation. It's the next big thing, right? Previously it was, including women into organizations, and then it became, including people of color, and now it's completely evolving. And I think it's going to be people with disabilities, and it's really, times are really changing. And yeah, it's going to, I believe very strongly, it's going to be the next big wave of inclusion. And I'm already seeing it. It's not something that, I'm not privy to. It's like you can see from the inside and from the outside, from the lower levels of the employees working at the jobs, and from the senior levels of, the parents who have children, and the self-advocates themselves who are in senior level positions. So yeah, hopefully, Mega, that answered your question. Do let me know if it did.
No, that was really helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Hi, my name is Pranav. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for, giving this talk. And I really did learn something that I didn't really know about before. And yeah, so I guess my question is more specifically towards how you're getting users to use this. So how are you how are you reaching out and convincing people to use this platform, create their profiles and go through the application process?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. Yeah, no, thank you. So basically how we're doing this right now is we started off with just marketing on, social media, sharing on LinkedIn, things like that. And LinkedIn is an amazing platform, I must say, to really take advantage of, especially posting videos. And as you can tell, I make a lot of videos. So what happened was we got people to start in the Atlanta community. We started building our user base, and then eventually it snowballed. So we had people finding us on Google completely organically, very organic growth. We've had around people from 17 different countries find us online, and we just track these metrics because it's interesting to see, where they're coming in from. Many of them just type in, autism employment because they're looking for jobs and they're autistic, or neurodiversity hiring. So yeah, that's how we've had, we have not launched, and we've had over 200 people find us and, sign up and go through that whole 30-minute process of creating a profile. So it's really exciting that we're not really trying to do anything right now, and it's just naturally happening, and it just shows the need, like there's such a high demand. And I think now the next piece is, we're getting all the people to sign up, all the neurodiverse individuals. The next step is, how do we, bring the people who are in the country, but might not be, not the people on the coasts of America, but the people on the, the Midwest and the region where they don't have the best transportation potentially, or they might not be close to, a city, they might be living in rural areas. And I think technology really has the power to bring all those people together. And I think the main, the go-to market strategy that we have, most importantly, is to partner with vocational rehabilitation centers. That's really our goal. So bringing people, they already exist. These systems already exist. It's just a matter of tapping into them, because think about it. Everyone in any single state who has a disability and is looking for a job goes to a VR to find a job, or not everyone, but a very large percentage of them, of individuals. And that's why it's so over bombarded today. So if we can tap into that community directly, then we're already bringing on a whole group of users. So that's why our next big goal is to partner with every single VR in the country. And it's a very bold goal, because they are, they do have a different process and they don't use technology as much. But we believe that we could do it. And I think, every time we've set an audacious goal, it's taken a while, but it's happened. And I think it's just about like the patience and, tenacity and persistence to see the goal through, even if there's some setbacks. So yeah, that's the main approach that we're taking. And that's a really, really great question. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really inspiring to hear, that level of success, or how interested people are in using it. I guess another quick question on top of that is, in the beginning, one of your slides, you mentioned having like a progress bar. You said you were at like 25% of the way to your goal. Where would you say you are now?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think the progress bar is like 20%. That's a great question. And also a good observation. So yeah, I would say now we're at, I honestly think we're still at 50%, because we're still in the alpha testing phase. I think when we launch, we're going to get to like the 60%. I think when we, scale, that's the biggest piece of it. It's like, how do you get all the users, and not only scale, but how do you increase the amount of time that they're spending on the application? And once you get those, and to find a job, and then most importantly, how many people are you actually finding a job for? Like if everyone's signing up and you're not really, finding at least 20% of them jobs, then it's not necessarily, you might not be successful, and people might get annoyed and, move to another platform. So I think the goal is, we have to balance the two. We have to bring people on and then get them jobs, and then bring more people on, get more people jobs. So it's always like, it's going to be a process of tipping each other. So that's why I said 50%. So yeah, we'll see where we go in the next few years. But I think the remote work process is, capability is really helping our team, because I just have more time on my hands to do more stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pranav.
Hi. Thank you so much for your presentation. I just had another question about, it's like, given you kind of just addressed at the very end of that, but you were talking about how, like in the current pandemic situation with your team, how does that work with you guys all being remote? Is it easier or harder, especially because you guys have all these other things you do in your daily lives?
Yeah, that's a really amazing question. I think it's been tough I mean, just to find balance personally, like on a personal level, because I'm a kind of person, like if I focus on something, I'll just get into it for like 4 hours and sometimes forget to eat. So I'm trying to like fix that tendency. But I would say for the team, it's really been amazing because, you know, the whole idea of everyone working from home, at first we were like, oh my gosh, who's going to hire people from Mentra? You know, like people are getting fired and we're thinking about getting more people hired. It doesn't make sense. But then we realized this is a huge, huge, huge opportunity. And there's that quote, it's like when there's a time of change, there's also, you know, the time of opportunity. And I think that really was what motivated us to work towards, you know, building this out more. And in terms of time management, I guess we are asynchronous. And I think because we're volunteer, we really focus on, you know, everyone's different, you know, time commitments, how much they want to put in and how passionate they are about putting into it. So it's just being really aware of that and having transparency. Like we always want to know what's happening in each other's lives in case, you know, there's something, you know, going on, or you know, if there's like someone's getting married, or I don't know, something happens, like we want to know that so that we don't like over bombard, you know, a teammate on our team. So, and also there's also the difference of figuring out, you know, what they're capable of doing and what they want to work on and what they're passionate about, because we don't want to force anyone to do anything that they don't want to do. The whole idea is like bringing together a team of people that really, really care about this mission. And we've been able to do that. And I will say I love our Mentra family. And yeah, it's just been a very like symbiotic relationship and process. Yeah, I think anything else about, you know, I think that's it. Yeah, I think it's been really great to work remote. And I think when we go into the office, it's going to be harder, but I think we've been able to sort of delegate and divide and conquer and, you know, have teams having the process throughout. So yeah, hopefully that answered the question too.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I was going to say, your guys are all in college. So, and that's what I did in college. Like school was, you know, like 30% of my day was school. And then the rest of it was me like brainstorming and ideating and drawing and building websites and prototypes and, you know, meeting people. And I would schedule meetings with random people across campus just to meet them and get to know them. And, you know, building mentorships, like building connections with people who are, you know, very accomplished or even have like different skill sets that you know, want to learn about. I think that's like a really integral part of the process. So I would say, you know, you're still in school, you still have a lot of time, and you have a lot of time to figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life. And don't feel like, you know, you have to go get the 9-to-5 job, because that's something I never wanted to constrain myself by. But I think, yeah, spending that time at the rest of your day to really like build what you care about and what you're really passionate about, like that's what excites me. I'm like, I want to get done with work so I can go work on Mentra. You know, that's like my non-procrastination motivation factor. Yeah, I think, yeah, any other questions? I know yeah, we're over time.
Yeah, so I had a really quick question. I mean, like the vision of the company and stuff is really cool, and I may have missed this when you were talking about it, but like, so how does like kind of the ranking stuff work? Like, is the structure more like people fill out forms about themselves and then companies will come and read through random profiles, or is it more like companies also fill out things they're looking for and you like somehow match people up with companies, or is it more like is it more like kind of like you just post about yourself and whoever's interested kind of talks to you, or?
Yeah, no, that is a good question. And yeah, maybe I didn't make it clear. Basically, if a candidate is, you know, they create a profile, and now that's something that they can use for the rest of their lives, that they want to, you know, post it on LinkedIn or attach it to a job application or whatever they want to do with it. They can use that to express themselves. And then what we do is we get that information, and then we get the information from the employer side. So we ask them, you know, bare minimum, if they really don't care about making a great match, they can just give us their job description. That's completely fine. If they want to go a level deeper, they can give us, you know, all those different factors about the environment and the job and the team and all these other things, and like the company culture, the, you know, initiatives that the team they're working on, things like that. But every employer can give how much ever information they want to give. And the idea is that would directly influence the match that they get connected with. So if an employer really cares about, someone's personality, but doesn't, and cares a lot about their environment, then we might give people who have matched environment skills, match the personality skills, but they don't match the skills as much. Maybe they don't know, Adobe Illustrator. And so it's really about figuring out like what weightage, it's really about like weightages, like how important is it to an employer? And then how much can it have that skill set or characteristic? And then the match is made off of that. And we're actually working with the data science Georgia Tech team to really build out that matching algorithm. So it's been a great partnership that we had in college and we kept even beyond. And yeah, we have a data science lead as well on our team who's focusing just on that matching algorithm piece that we're still building out right now and doing research on. And it's a really interesting factor about the whole platform that we're building. So we're learning every day.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a pretty good answer because like trying to make like something that goes above just like the basic skills is definitely something very hard to do. So it's cool that you guys are like focusing on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it needs to be done. Like it's too many years, when it hasn't existed right now. And we have all this technology and we have all this data. So it's just like, how do you figure out what's important to both parties and then connect the right people to each other? Because I was listening to a talk today and they were saying it's so important that you feel fulfilled at your job. Like even you just want to have a good leader, even if, you're not paid the most or you're not, rewarded the most for the job. Like you just want to make sure you enjoy it and care about what you're doing, and have a good team and a good leadership. And I think that's something that we're trying to really bridge the gap with. So before we end, I found the quote that I would absolutely love to read to you. Okay, so someone on Quora asked the question, will I become a billionaire if I am determined to be one and put in the necessary work required? And then Justine Mask responded saying, no, one of the many qualities that separate self-made billionaires from the rest of us is their ability to ask the right questions. This is not the right question, which is not to say it's a bad question. You just won't get that deep part of your mind working that'll help you. But basically, so you're determined. So what okay, I'm going to focus on this. So shift your focus away from what you want, which is $1 billion, and get, in this case, this person asking the question, and get deeply, intensely curious about what the world needs. Ask yourself if you have the potential to offer something that is so unique and so compelling and so helpful that no computer could replace you, no one could outsource you, and no one could steal your product and, replace the product that you're building. Then develop that potential. Choose one thing and become a master of it. Choose a second thing and become a master of that. And when you become a master of two worlds, let's say engineering and business, or in our case, disability advocacy and the hiring system, you can bring them together in a way that will, number one, introduce ideas to each other and build off of each other and explode into something amazing over time, or two, create a competitive advantage because you can sort of move between worlds, you can speak both languages, you can connect the tribes, and you can mash the elements to spark fresh creative insight until you wake up with an epiphany that changes your life. And there's more to that quote, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a question on Quora if you look up like Justine Musk Quora quote. But I thought that was like one of my favorite quotes because it's something I live by. So yeah, just wanted to share that with you before concluding this session.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jhillika, and thank you everyone for joining us today and listening to Jhillika speak. I think it was very insightful and I learned a lot, and I hope everyone else did. So sorry to keep everyone here for extra 15 minutes, but if you don't have another question, please feel free to leave. Once again, thank you, Jhillika, and then thank you everyone else for coming today.
Thank you guys. This is awesome.